Hello and welcome to the Career Speakeasy, a casual, fun, and irreverent place to share ideas about career development, the world of work, and life in general. I'm your host and proprietress, Kelly Nottingham. Growing your career should not be boring. So come on in, pull up a chair, and pick your poison. Hello, listeners. Today we are talking about mentoring, with a special focus on being mentored. So being the mentee in the relationship. Next episode, we're going to talk about being a mentor and how that can build skills for you as well. So if you're interested in mentoring on the mentor side, don't worry, we're going to get to you on the next episode. I'd like to thank listener Joshua for these topics. I love getting recommendations for topics from listeners. If you have some recommendations for topics that you would like to have covered, you can email me at careerspeakeasy@gmail.com, and I will add those onto our calendar of topics. So I have plenty of caffeine in my system, and I'm ready to go. So let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 key areas for mentoring on the mentee side. First, we're going to be talking about what mentoring is and what it isn't. Next, we're going to talk about the role of the mentee, what your role is as someone being mentored in this relationship. And then we're going to round out today with how to find a mentor. So mentoring is a great way to build on your career skills, learn new things, find new directions in your career and your work, and get some really fantastic guidance on your next moves, maybe get some feedback on how you're doing and what you could do better. However, it can be really intimidating in some respects, and it's often seen as this sort of mystical guru on the mountain kind of thing that it's really not. It's much more down to earth than that and much more practical than that. So let's start off with understanding the difference between 3 terms that come up a lot when people talk about mentoring. People often will intermingle the 3 words, coaching, mentoring, and consulting with each other. Now, the way I look at this, they are 3 very different things. Coaching is a third-party person who can talk you through your ideas, your challenges, and give you an outside perspective. This is someone who can help you see things in a different way, maybe help you develop a plan, and can provide accountability on that plan and helping you reach your goals. The coach may or may not have experience in your field or your skill set of interest. With coaching, it doesn't actually matter if they have the skill set that you're looking for or not, because it is really just a way of bouncing ideas off of someone else that is a neutral third party who can help you see different perspectives and help you with some goal setting and accountability. Mentoring is someone with experience in the skill set or career or company that you're interested in learning more about. This is a bit more directive than coaching. So the mentor has information, experiences to share, and the relationship is more about the mentor guiding the mentee based on what the mentee wants to learn and giving feedback on the mentee's progress on those specific goals. Consulting is someone with a lot of experience in the skill set or career that you're interested in, but is much more focused on providing a solution for you based on what you're looking for and their expertise. So let me give you an example. So for coaching, when I'm coaching someone, let's say I'm building a career development plan, they can be in any industry, they can be at any level within that organization. So maybe it would be coaching someone on building a new leadership development plan for themselves in the pharmaceutical industry. That would be a coaching role. With mentoring, someone would come to me specifically looking for help with building their skill set in, let's say, public speaking. And we work together using my experience and their interests to work on building that skill set through activities and feedback. Consulting would be someone hires me to help them develop an onboarding program for new leaders in their company, and I am providing resources and actually probably putting together that plan for them based on their needs. That's just to give you an example of the difference between coaching, mentoring, and consulting. So we're going to be specifically talking about mentoring today and how to be the most effective mentee and get the most out of this mentoring relationship as you can. So the biggest issues that I see with mentoring are twofold. The first is that the mentee expects the mentoring relationship to work magic, and specifically for the mentor to work magic to solve their problems or their challenges. It's not designed to do that. And this is one of those situations when you see someone who wants to be mentored, who may be having some challenges, and they expect somehow that having a mentor in itself will fix the issue. The impetus in a mentoring relationship is on the mentee, not the mentor, to drive progress and to make the efforts to make the relationship and the progress work. We're going to be talking more about that in a few minutes. So that's issue number one that I see. Issue number two is that mentees don't have clarity sometimes when they go into a mentoring relationship. They don't know exactly what it is that they want to accomplish. So clarity on your goal for the mentoring will drive the whole bus. So we have to get very clear first on what you want to accomplish with your mentoring relationship before we do anything else, and that includes picking a mentor. So the most common mentoring goals can usually be grouped into the four most common goals that people have. The first is to learn more about a specific career. So this feels a little bit like an informational interview, but you're getting more in depth than just one conversation around how to develop in a certain career. The second is to learn more about a team or company. So for example, maybe you just got promoted up into an executive role at your company and you need to learn more about how politics at that executive level work. And you're looking to have someone help you understand how things work at that level. The third is to develop in a new skill set, and this can be either soft skills like communication skills, or it can be hard skills like mastering Excel as you work through some projects that you're doing and you need help with getting better and better at Excel. The fourth is to get feedback on yourself. Now, this one can be touchy in the emotional realms when we get feedback on ourselves, but it can be incredibly helpful to understand. So I'm going to give you an example of the differences between these four. We're going to use an example of someone who is involved in project management. So for our first type of goal is to learn more about a specific career. So let's say that you've been involved in projects before, but you're interested in learning more about the steps it would take to become a project manager. So you'd want to meet with your mentor who is a project manager about how they got started managing projects from beginning to end. Our second type of goal is to learn more about a team or company. So we used the example earlier of politics. So in this example, let's say you've been asked to lead a project, you have project management experience, but you're new to the team and you need help navigating how to get things done on a project at the company that you're at. So maybe learning who those gatekeepers are that really can help to get things done on a project at the company. Our third goal is to develop in a new skill set. So in this example, we would say we've been asked to lead a project and we need some practical guidance on how to effectively organize project documentation and delegating to people. Our last type of mentoring goal is to get feedback on yourself. So the example would be, you've been asked to lead a project, but the last time you did, you had a tough time with some personalities on the project team, and you want to get honest feedback on how you communicate and where you might be able to improve. So when we look at these four examples based on these four different types of mentoring goals, you can see that even though they're the same rough topic, they are very different goals. So this is why when you're thinking about reaching out and finding a mentor, it is so critically important to understand exactly what you want to improve on or what you want to learn. Because based on what you're interested in learning from that relationship and based on what your goals are for yourself, you could be reaching out to very different people and asking them very different questions and putting your relationship together in a very different way. So as I said, this is the one area that I think a lot of mentees miss when they're trying to set up a mentoring relationship with someone. They have a broad idea of what they want to cover, but they don't really understand at a deep level what they're asking of that mentor. So if you're thinking that a mentor could help you, what exactly do you want to improve or learn? Is it something about yourself you want to learn? Is it something about the job specifically that you want to learn? Is it something about a skill set you want to learn? Is it something that you need to understand organizationally that you're trying to figure out? Know what you're looking for specifically. One way to help to figure this out is to ask the question, what would it mean to say that the relationship has been successful when it's over? So what does success mean for you from this relationship? What will you have learned at the end of it, or what will you have accomplished at the end of this relationship? And then you backtrack from there to help you figure out what it is at the beginning that you need to basically set out to do. Do you have clear criteria for what success means? Do you have goals that make sense? And are you going to be able to measure success as you go? This mentoring goal setting process is going to help define for you who your ideal mentor is going to be and how your relationship is going to work together. So don't skip this. Because when you skip this goal setting piece and understanding clearly what it is that you want to get out of the relationship, you revert back to that other problem that I talk about that a lot of people have when they start a mentoring relationship, that they expect the mentor to magically be able to make things happen for the mentee. When you're building out what you want to accomplish, the magic thinking that goes along with, this mentor is going to fix everything for me, that goes away. And you begin to see that the relationship is driven by the mentee and not the mentor. So once you get your clarity around what you really want to accomplish, finding the appropriate mentor becomes a lot easier. And it also helps you with the meeting to meeting process that a mentoring relationship takes. So the mentee brings the agenda to each meeting. The mentee drives these meetings. You should not expect your mentor to take on the responsibility and the burden of asking questions and digging into your background for you. That's not their job. You have to take the driver's seat. Have questions ready. Have discussion points ready that you want to talk about with your mentor for each and every meeting. So I have some suggestions of questions that you can ask your mentor. This is just to get you thinking. Take these questions as a starting point and let your curiosity run wild with you. Let your curiosity about the role, about the skill set, and about your mentor help you formulate some questions that you can bring with you to your meetings. Now, these are the examples I have for you. What ideas do you have for a different way to approach this situation? When have you ever dealt with a similar challenge, and what did you do? What would you recommend as the first step I should take? How do you make decisions around this topic? What is your approach for doing blank? Have questions jotted down. These kind of broad, open-ended questions are good for getting the conversation started. But it's important to bring the questions with you, because the last thing you want is to walk into a mentor relationship, expecting the mentor to ask questions of you. They're helping you, so make it easy on them to help you. Now, another recommendation for these meetings is to bring suggestions for what you think might help or what you think might move the situation forward. The mentor might tell you that those ideas aren't necessarily what they would recommend, but it shows that you've put in some thought and some time into the process and that you're invested in the process and in the relationship. As the mentee, you should also report any progress during each session. So what have you discovered since the last meeting that you had with the person? What have you done with the info that the mentor shared? Your mentor is going to want to know that you're putting in effort and that you are making forward progress. Otherwise, they may feel that their time is being wasted if you're not actually acting on anything that they are recommending, that you're not making forward progress at all. So some other ways to work with a mentor. You can rehearse a situation that you're preparing for, such as a job interview or a promotion interview, a presentation that maybe you're getting ready to present, a negotiation of some kind, delegating to someone if you have trouble delegating to other people, and rehearsing through how you would say things. Now, I have actually done this with mentors that I have had, and it feels so super awkward. It's like, doing a little skit, and it feels really strange, but it is incredibly helpful to get somebody to pretend to be the other person, and you have to kind of talk your way through the situation, and then they can give you feedback on how you did and recommendations that they would make. This is, I think, one of the most useful benefits of having a mentor, so utilize that. You can ask for recommendations on books, audiobooks, or podcasts that they have found useful, that they think you might also find useful. A mentor can introduce you to people you need to know. So in our project management example a little earlier, there are gatekeepers. I mentioned the term gatekeepers. If you're not familiar with this term, this is a useful term to know. There are people at every organization who can get stuff done. And if you don't know who those people are, you may be really struggling with getting something accomplished within that organization. They may be an executive admin. They may be an IT person who just can get stuff done. A lot of times, we don't know those people when we're starting out or when we're starting a new project. So having a mentor to introduce you to those people and build that connection with that person can really help to move your project or your process or your education forward. The next way of working with a mentor is another incredibly useful way of working with them. Asking for feedback on yourself can be eye-opening. It can be a little bit painful to do, but it is incredibly powerful. So asking your mentor about how your professional brand is perceived. How are you perceived by leadership at the company? What are some of my strengths? What are some development areas that I maybe need to work on, some opportunities? What are some blind spots that I don't know about myself that are holding me back in my career? These are scary questions, y'all. These are scary questions to ask, but this is the best way to help ourselves move forward, is to find out what we're missing. And that mentor, if you have good trust built up with that mentor and you're willing to take the feedback that they're giving you, they can really put a very bright light on things that may be holding you back that you aren't aware of. Now, it's important if you're asking for feedback to be ready to actually accept the feedback that they are giving. Asking for feedback and only wanting positive feedback it can be somewhat helpful. But if you're asking for feedback and you get corrective feedback or developmental feedback and you weren't expecting it can cause a lot of distrust in your mentoring relationship. Your mentor is going to be hesitant to give you further feedback if you accept the feedback in a negative way or in an accusatory way or in a very defensive way. So if you're asking for feedback, be gracious about accepting that feedback as the gift that it is. If you are sensitive to getting feedback, and that's not uncommon to have a difficult time accepting feedback, that in itself can be a conversation to have with your mentor and to help you get developmental feedback. That mentor can help guide you through that process of getting feedback and accepting it and learning from it. So if you have any nervousness around getting feedback, have that conversation with your mentor and tell them, I have difficulty sometimes accepting developmental feedback, but I need it. And I want you to help me with that process by giving me feedback and helping me process through not taking it so personally or moving forward from it. Now, if your mentor hasn't actually seen you in action, leading a meeting, for example, if that's what you're working toward being better at, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to get good feedback and recommendations from them. It just means you have to approach things in a little bit of a different way. So let's say that you do want to work on improving your ability to lead meetings, and your mentor is someone who is amazing at facilitating meetings. You can talk to them about what your plan is for leading a meeting. You can rehearse with them how you're going to open the meeting and how you might deal with any objections during the meeting, and you can have them pretend to be that grumpy person in the room so you can practice talking through those potential situations. And then after you lead your meeting and you come back to talk with your mentor again, you can talk to them about how you think it went, what you think went well, and see if they have any recommendations for what to do differently. Some mentors, depending on their availability, may actually be able to come watch you lead a meeting, but that is a big time commitment. And frankly, a lot of mentors are very busy because they're usually very successful people. So they may not have the time to actually come watch you, but you can still provide information to them to help them guide you in this process and to help them give you feedback. So let's say that you came in with a very clear goal for your mentoring relationship. You asked a lot of questions. You have given suggestions for what you think that you should do. You've gotten feedback. You've listened to the podcast that they recommended. They've introduced you to people that would be useful. You've rehearsed situations, and you have seen your skill develop over the course of the meetings that you've had with your mentor. There will come a time for your mentoring relationship to end. This is normal, and it is not to be ignored or postponed. Don't ghost your mentor and just quit communicating with them. When your goals have been met, free that mentor up to help someone else. Thank them for their time. Share what you've gotten out of the relationship with them. You may even consider a little thank you gift for their time. And keep in touch with them. Even though your relationship has ended in the sense of the mentor-mentee relationship, you still have a professional relationship with that person. It's just changed. And talking about the ending of the mentor relationship and saying, I appreciate all of your time. I feel like I've learned what I needed to, and I'm grateful for the chance that you've given me to learn with you. That frees up the relationship to develop into a professional relationship on a different level. You can schedule coffee with them, maybe once a quarter just to catch up, or at least send an email or a phone call to check up with them every once in a while and update them on how things are going. This lets them know that you weren't just soaking up as much as you could and then you took off and threw them aside when you were done like an old Capri Sun drink. You are showing appreciation and letting them feel the benefit of what they have offered as a mentor. Mentors want to feel that they have helped, so let them know that. There is no shame, there is no weirdness about ending a mentoring relationship. It is normal for these relationships to run their course. So make sure that you handle the end of that relationship in a professional way and modify it into this new level of relationship. By continuing to communicate with them, it also helps you to continue to grow your professional brand as a thoughtful person. And then if you need, you can move on to another skill set with another mentor if you want. All right, so we've talked a lot about how the mentoring relationship works and what your responsibilities as a mentee are. Before we move to how to find a mentor, I just want to add one other thought to this. I strongly recommend that you track your meetings and your progress somewhere that you can share with your mentor. This doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It can be a document. It can be a spreadsheet where you show where you met, what you wanted to discuss and what was discussed, and then what you plan to do for the next meeting with that person. When you bring in this documentation to the meeting, you can jot down notes, and it shows, one, that you are really taking the relationship seriously. It also helps you and your mentor to track progress. Now, what I recommend is to also send this to your mentor, and that helps the mentor to prepare for the conversation in advance. It also reminds them of what you discussed in the past. So it doesn't have to be huge, it doesn't have to be complicated, but sending something to your mentor before you meet with them and then tracking your progress on what you've done and what you want to discuss the next time can help both of you stay on the same page, and it can save some time then when you come in for your meeting so that you don't have to spend time saying, remember last month when we met and we talked about these 7 things? You have already gone through all of that and reviewed separately so that you can jump right into your conversation. All right, so now let's talk about how to find a mentor. Look within your own company. Look within your industry. If you belong to a professional association, you can look within your professional association. You can look within your volunteer network if you volunteer outside of your workplace. And this is why it is so useful to have a fairly broad network. Now, if you look at your network and you're like, oh, there's really nobody in my network that is going to be a right fit for me, there may be an ideal mentor for you that is just one connection away from your own network. So you can reach out to a couple of people in your network and say, I am looking for a mentor on this topic or on this skill set. Do you know of anybody that you could recommend that I reach out to? Ask them if they would be interested and available to mentor you. I personally recommend doing an email first to introduce yourself to the idea. That makes it easier if they don't feel like they have the time to say that they don't have the time, instead of you coming into their office for a half-hour meeting and within the first 2 minutes you find out they don't have time to mentor you, or they frankly aren't interested in mentoring right now, and then you awkwardly have to get up and leave. So reach out to them, ask them if they would be interested and available. Explain what it is that you want to learn and why this person is your preferred choice. You may also want to share your expectations for how often or long that you want to meet. And be realistic. Many people are willing, but they don't have a lot of time. And frankly, weekly mentor meetings are probably not necessary or realistic because you probably can't get a whole lot done in 1 week anyway. So if you think that 1 hour a month is going to be plenty for you, or a half hour every 2 weeks, or a half hour every month is going to be plenty for you, ask that up front with them because it can help set expectations. I know when I have been asked to be a mentor for people, this has honestly been a concern that I have had, that this mentee is going to want a significant amount of time from me. And when we had the conversation, that wasn't necessarily the case. So it made it much more viable to be a mentor when I understood what that person's expectations were. If they only need to talk to me for 45 minutes a month, I can find time for that. That's fine. If the person says no, be gracious and thank them, and go back to your network to see if there's somebody else that might serve that mentoring role for you. If they say yes, awesome. It is on you to take charge, to plan the meetings, find out what times would work for them, and then you set up the calendar invitations for them. Don't expect them to send that to you. Don't expect them to take on the responsibility of setting up these meetings. You set them up in advance, make sure that you have plenty of time, find out how they want to communicate in person, if it's over the phone, if it's over Skype, if it's over Zoom, whatever the case may be, and make sure that all of that is very, very clear when you're getting those meetings set up. That also provides an opportunity when the meetings are set up far in advance, that if something comes up like a vacation or there's another meeting that overlaps, the two of you will be able to work it out in plenty of time in advance. So that is my super quick how to be an effective mentee in a mentoring relationship. I hope that this has been useful for you. It is now time for last call. So if you are interested in the possibility of having a mentor relationship, start building your network now. It makes it way easier to find a mentor when you already have a lot of good connections with people and you let them know that you're interested in finding mentors. Next, identify the one skill set that you want to learn more about, or the role that you want to learn more about, and what your goal for a mentoring relationship would be, and be as specific as you can. Next, list out 5 questions that you would ask a mentor when you find one. And the last of our last call is to find a person to ask to be your mentor and actually ask them. If you don't know anyone, ask someone else. Make that a step for yourself. Reach out to somebody who might be able to refer you to someone else. But take that step of asking someone. So that's it for this episode. If you have questions or comments, please let me know at careerspeakeasy@gmail.com. And we'll be back on our next episode with the opposite side of the relationship and how to be a successful mentor. Bye. Well, thanks for joining me. If you have suggestions, feedback, or just something random you want to share, email me at careerspeakeasy@gmail.com. And come visit again soon. Cheers.